Hello everybody, welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well and that you're all having a great day to start things off. The operator of Germany's only regulated cryptocurrency exchange has confirmed it will de facto become a bank after securing a 100% takeover of Tremmel Wertpapierhandelsbank. Bitcoin Group SE, which operates Bitcoin.de, will be able to offer a raft of services connected with cryptocurrency thanks to a banking license once the deal goes through. Frankfurt-based Tremmel has operated as a minor financial institution since the early 1980s, with previous owner Rainer Bergman staying on to continue to future growth and oversee the creation of a deposit institution. This was confirmed by a press release. Here's a logo. They said, "We are very pleased that in Tremmel Wertpapierhandelsbank GmbH, and in particular Mr. Rainer Bergman, who have been able to gain an excellently positioned partner with in-depth knowledge of the market," end quote. They said this will enable us to take the corporation development of Bitcoin SE to a new level. Once the process completes, which is expected to be by Q3 of 2019, Bitcoin.de will be able to provide services such as Bitcoin ATMs. I'll get to that in 1 second. The right to provide exchange services including via such machines among non-banking license holders, currently forming a contentious issue in Germany. The main focus for Bitcoin Group, however, will be to turn Bitcoin.de into a cryptocurrency exchange with a multilateral approach. This offers numerous advantages, they said in the press release. For example, it would be possible to maintain an order book and even quote prices, which would at the same time ensure more liquid trading. Bitcoin Group first hinted it will be acquiring a regulated bank headquartered in Germany in May. The latest move further increasing its presence as the only regulated option in the country. So there's an issue right now. For those who do not know, I am in Europe. Part of the issue right now is that the European Union is slowly coming to terms with the fact that they cannot get rid of cryptocurrencies, and specifically Bitcoin. So what's been happening is that a number of countries around Europe have proposed the banning of Bitcoin ATMs, or saying that they are not allowed within their borders or their countries. Not all of them, but you can definitely see which countries, and it's really interesting the way that countries are trying to handle it, because I told you guys before, when it comes to cryptocurrencies, when countries realize that they cannot ban the cryptocurrencies themselves, but they can ban ICOs and they can stop cryptocurrency exchanges. Another thing that they're trying to do right now, especially that we're seeing on a smaller level in the United States, is when it comes to, what's that website called? Local Bitcoin, where you can, type on your phone, I want this much, and you go meet somebody and they give you the Bitcoin, you hand them the money, and then you're done. There's also a crackdown, if you will, on that, because countries aren't comfortable with the fact that people have control over their own money and that you can do with whatever you want without having to declare something to them. It is what it is. So the fact that this is something that I assume will only be a continued trend. In the beginning of 2017, and even before that, the entire time before, it was very difficult for any cryptocurrency exchange or any type of crypto anything to get an actual bank account. There were many people who were reporting, not even when they were buying with credit or with debt, they were simply opening up an account. They were buying cryptocurrencies with it, and the moment that it was recorded on their bank account, their bank accounts would be shut down by the bank, and the bank said, we don't want to deal with anyone who's even touching crypto. So there are a lot of cryptocurrency exchanges around the world who are trying to absorb banks, have partnerships in banks, or they have 100% stake. This was also noted sometime earlier this year as well with Charlie Lee. I think the Litecoin Foundation or something like that, where they noted that they were, I forgot the percentage of the stake that they were buying inside of the bank, but people were upset because, decentralization, you shouldn't be buying a bank. We're trying to get away from the banks. I feel like this way is, if we can't get away from banks in general, I think it's more intelligent in my eyes for a cryptocurrency exchange or crypto companies to actually buy banks themselves, so that this way they can not only integrate cryptocurrencies, but they can also allow other people in the cryptocurrency space to be able to have a bank account with them. Like, imagine how many doors this is going to open up for other people around Europe, or maybe even around the world, depending on how far reaching they are, who are going to be able to have a bank account with their new startup or their new cryptocurrency exchange. I think it's very interesting. I was pretty shocked at the 100% takeover. I don't see an exact amount of money, how much this cost. I assume it's not an astronomical amount, but I like the idea. Like I said, if we can't beat them, Why not just buy them up and absorb them? It seems to be one of probably the easiest ways to be able to rid ourselves in some type of way from the old banking system. Let's move on. Next up, New York as a whole is in the news. On November 14th, the New York State Department of Financial Services, or the DFS, announced that it had approved the application of the NYDIG, or New York DIG, Execution LLC, a subsidiary of NYDIG LLC, for a virtual currency license and a money transmission license. The approval of this so-called BIT license, or virtual currency license, application is the 14th of its kind and is required under New York state law in order for a company to engage in any virtual currency business activity. Under the BIT license, New York DIG Execution LLC is allowed to offer secure custody and trade execution services, as well as to operate as a custodian for virtual currencies including Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, XRP, and Litecoin. DFS Superintendent Mariate Vulo approved the request, stating today's approval further demonstrates that operating within New York's robust state regulatory system leads to a stronger fintech marketplace and promotes innovation and necessary compliance with effective risk-based controls, end quote. Not going to talk about when it first happened, blah, blah, blah. San Francisco-based exchange known as Kraken withdrew from servicing New York residents because of the state's new licensing requirements. In a blog post titled Farewell, New York, the founders of Kraken stated, and I quote, "Regrettably, the abominable BIT license has awakened. It is a creature so foul, so cruel, that not even Kraken possesses the courage or strength to face its nasty, big, pointy teeth," end quote. So, New York, one thing that I've always found quite fascinating, and I'm pretty sure I can't be the only one who shares a bit of this sentiment. If you've ever watched a movie or a TV show or turned on the news or read a book, you know that New York is kind of like the hub for rich people. Like, it's where all the rich happenings happen and where people park money in real estate and where they do blah, 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 blah. But people have been having a very difficult time doing anything in New York when it comes to cryptocurrencies, especially when it comes to anything. Like, I can't even think of one specific thing. This is why we've had, especially when a lot of crypto exchanges open up. You've noticed before that they say that they have started operating in 13 states, and then they say around 40 states, and then they always say, yeah, we're now properly in 49 states, and they always miss out with New York. I was always confused, even now I guess, why there isn't much more of an open arms approach to everything with finance in New York. I'm not exactly sure why New York has always been this way. Binance left them. Kraken is leaving them or has left them as well. A lot of other places, they don't do business within New York, and a lot of them are also leaving the United States. So the fact that, where was it? This BIT license was August 2015. That was 3 years and some change ago, and this is only the 14th license that they've allowed someone to have, is a little weird. I am not part of the New York inner circle of rich license givers, so I can't really tell you why it takes so long or why there's such a major thing around it. You would assume that such a rich country in general, and then a rich city, would be a lot more open. Like, I feel like if New York and the United States wanted to, they could dominate cryptocurrencies completely. Like, if they opened up their doors a bit further, I feel like everyone in their family would start doing business in New York. But even apparently taxes are also really high in New York. I don't really understand that. I don't get how New York is still this major financial hub. Maybe it's because this is where Wall Street is located. Anyway, this is significant because it's the 14th that they've issued in 3 years. So apparently it's very shiny and very new, and everybody is interested in it. Let's move on. Next up, Salt is in the news. Salt, one of the high-profile crypto projects aiming to build a cryptocurrency-secured lending business, has seen renewed attention from the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, reported the Wall Street Journal. A section of the investigation is pointing towards Eric Voorhees, who is the CEO of Shapeshift, who was also involved with the Salt project. Voorhees has an indirect connection to Salt and has served on its board while the startup raised funds, but an early investigation and settlement from Voorhees banned him from participating in raising funds. The attention of the SEC was also pointed to the SALT token in an attempt to determine whether the asset should have been registered as a security. The investigation into SALT arrives at a time when almost no element of the crypto ecosystem remains untouched by some form of regulation. Shapeshift, the previously anonymous service, has established account creation and a form of KYC procedure. The SEC also scrutinized ICO projects for selling unregistered securities. Not even decentralized exchanges managed to escape, as regulators went after Ether Delta and IDEX closed off access for New York State residents, there we go again, unable to comply with the very strict local regulations. For those who do not know what SALT is, it's pretty much a crypto lending platform, and it's not one of my favorite projects right now. I think there's just way too many projects floating around for me to really hone in on like a top 10 or even top 15 or something right now. But the idea is very interesting. You I think you get cash as like collateral or something like that for the cryptocurrencies that you do. I think the last couple of weeks they've added, I think, Dogecoin, Litecoin, and one other crypto as collateral along with the SALT token. But the problem is that the US in particular, this is why they're always in the news. I personally think, and this is just my opinion, I think that they're panicking, trying to figure out a way to... They waited too long. They waited far too long trying to understand what the market is, and instead of trying to understand what the market is now, they're panicking. They're trying to send subpoenas and stuff like that to every single project that they possibly can. SALT has not escaped their grasp. Neither has a decentralized exchange, which is a bit insane. Everyone's leaving the states, and I don't understand why they're pushing back so hard. I don't know if they just want everyone to simply leave. I'm not exactly sure what it is. But apparently SALT is under investigation. Eric Voorhees has been for quite some time. I'm also not really sure why I'm not sure if he's even still in the States. If he is still there, I'm not sure why. Many crypto people have completely left the States. They're all completely gone, or they've moved to Puerto Rico, even though that's a part of the U.S. The tax implications and as far as like dealing in cryptocurrencies is completely different down there, at least. So the entire thing with Shapeshift is that, if I'm not mistaken, the problem that the SEC has with it is that you are pretty much a money transmitting service, because on Shapeshift you can switch from one cryptocurrency to another, and if you are swapping into something that the SEC thinks is a security, therefore you are breaking securities laws. It's all kind of all over the place. I'll obviously try and keep you guys updated on exactly how this will unfold with the SALT token. Because one of the other things that SALT was promoting is that for those who are in the States, I'm pretty sure you understand exactly what this is. It's kind of like your credit score. And one of the perks of the platform was that you didn't need to have a credit score in order to be able to get funding or loan from them. And apparently that's also a very big no-no. They were trying to make it as easily accessible as possible for people who were looking to get into the cryptocurrency space or who are looking to get loans and stuff like that. The SEC does not like this, and like I said, I mean, I'm pretty sure you've noticed a huge trend at this point where the SEC, they're going after every single thing that they possibly can. I can only imagine what their offices look like. It just has to be a whole bunch of like chickens running around in circles, because there's so many aspects to the cryptocurrency world that they just didn't pay attention to, didn't want to pay attention to. I still think that a lot of the governmental agencies around the world expected crypto to die off at this point. I think a lot of them thought that at the beginning of this year, when they were talking about banning it or restricting it, or you can't use it within this country, or blah, 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 so and so, that I think that they thought that if they said all that, the crypto market would pop, everything would die, no one would care about crypto anymore. But the interest around crypto has only gone up tenfold. So I don't see crypto going anywhere. But I think now the government agencies are desperately trying to figure out what the technology is, how far it's spread, because they, at least to my knowledge and from what we've been reading and what from other people have been saying in articles, they haven't been doing as much research as they should have and are a bit behind on the times. I'm not exactly sure if the price of SALT is reacting to this news, or it could just be, like I said, it's about that time of week when the market kind of slides down. And I think also there's not a huge amount of buying pressure and stuff like that at the moment. A lot of it is selling pressure. So when Bitcoin tends to go down around 1.5%, The altcoins, especially like on number 121, they tend to be hit a bit more hardest. They get hit a bit more simply because of there's not a huge amount of volume flowing through them. But yeah, let's move on. Just going to breeze over this one. Stellar Lumens is now listed on this website, and I say this website for 2 reasons. I've said the name of it before, and people on both ends have screamed at me. When I hear this word, it's right here. When I have heard this word on podcasts or when I have heard it on other videos, it is pronounced bit thumb. And I said bit thumb before, and people said that it was bit hum. And when I said bit hum in other videos, people were saying that I was incorrect and that it is bit thumb. Henceforth, I'm going to be saying bit thumb because I've heard people from the bit thumb website talking about bit thumb. I mean, if you want my opinion, maybe not. I think the name is a bit ridiculous. I feel like of all the other words in the English language, they probably could have chose something else except for hum to be at the very end of this, or at least added another T somewhere around there. Point is, after all that, Stellar and Odyssey have now been listed on BitThumb, and I think this is also why, like a day or two ago, why Stellar's price was reacting a bit more, simply because they've been listed on South Korea's largest cryptocurrency exchange. I think I would also move up in volume if I got listed there as well. Yeah. Next up, a date for the mainnet launch of Zilliqa has finally been set by the team at Zilliqa. Investors and enthusiasts of the project can now look forward to January 31st of 2019 as the date when the ZIL project will migrate to its own blockchain. Initially, the mainnet launch was scheduled. I really never know what's wrong with my English. Like, I think it's just, I was trying to talk about it a couple days ago to a friend, and I was just mashing words together, and they looked at me like I was completely insane, but I think it's just how my words are formed now. The mainnet launch was scheduled for the 4th quarter of 2018, but the team postponed so they could release a solid, secure, and reliable product. They had requested for additional time from the Zilliqa community to carry out finishing touches on the platform. The date was confirmed via a recent AMA or Ask Me Anything session the team at ZIL headed via the social media platforms of Reddit and Telegram. The full Ask Me Anything session has been documented by the team and is now available online. Also to note is that before the mainnet is released, the team will release the 3rd version of the testnet by the end of November. During the release of the 3rd testnet, the team will also issue mining guidelines for the platform. The team also informed the Zilliqa community that the platform has undergone safety and security audits carried out by 3 individual companies. They went on to add that the findings for the audit were not critical, and they will release the public report as soon as possible. And a recently updated roadmap of the project, token swap for the ERC20 tokens to the new ZIL on the new blockchain will start from the end of quarter 1 2019. The token swap will continue into the 2nd quarter of 2019. The time frame that covers several months will provide ample time for owners of ZIL to swap their tokens. The token swap will be supported by various prominent exchanges. Zilliqa is not a coin, I guess to be fair, that we hear about quite often. I know a lot of people have been asking me to talk about Zilliqa. There is never any Zilliqa news. This is why I don't talk about it. And I mean, to be fair, typically a lot of coins don't, they should not have an enormous amount of news before they have actually launched, especially when everything is on a testnet. This is why I'm relatively cautious when it comes to talking about platforms that have not really launched. I can only assume that as the Zilliqa platform officially launches at the beginning of 2019, that we should probably be receiving an enormous amount of news about them. And I can only assume that this time, I assume it's been like about a year and some change since they've been trying to launch this, that we're going to have potentially news about partnerships and stuff like that. Like I said before, Zilliqa is not a coin that you typically hear about very often, but I can only assume that they're desperately trying to make sure that they get listed onto major cryptocurrency exchanges in order to be able to really put themselves out there. Yeah, let's move on. And last up, according to data from 1ML, the Lightning Network is now supported by roughly 4,070 nodes, which house just over 12,500 payment channels, an average of 10.9 channels per node. Most of this growth has come in the later half of 2018, my gosh, and the average age of each node is just 137 days old. With infrastructural growth, the network is also seeing an uptick in liquidity. At the time of writing, the network's collective capacity now stands at 223.65 BTC, which, at Bitcoin's current price, means the Lightning Network holds over $1.2 million worth of Bitcoin for the first time in its less than 1 year history. The average capacity for each node and payment channel comes in at 0.114 Bitcoin and 0.19 Bitcoin, respectively, and with transaction fees at 1 Satoshi. That is, it's a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a cent. 1 Satoshi, the network's promise to deliver low-cost microtransactions, is holding up. A long-awaited development in the cryptocurrency space, the progress of the Lightning Network has been watched with great interest by the community. That is an understatement. Heralded as the potential solution to Bitcoin's scalability problem, the Lightning Network operates as a second layer on top of Bitcoin's base layer. After its launch in early 2018, the Lightning Network saw immediate interest from developers who began building various Lightning applications on the network. Okay. 1, this is great. 2, this is fantastic. It's nice to hear that the network is expanding. What we typically hear from people who are in the Bitcoin community or Bitcoin maximalists or people who are dealing with the Lightning Network whenever they decide to come out from the woodworks and tell us about exactly what's happening on the project is that they believe that they will have a majority of support on the entirety of the Bitcoin network by around the year 2020, which at this point is not too far away. I would safely assume, let's say the middle of 2020. So let's say we have about 12, 6, let's say 19 months before this is supposed to be revved up and going. What I never really see is like an exact number as far as like we have the numbers right here as like the collective capacity right now, but I never see a number like how many, what the capacity has to be in order for Bitcoin, or rather for the Lightning Network to be ready, quote unquote. Like, you know, they say certain amount of time, 2 years, year and a half, so blah, 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 until Lightning Network is fully implemented across the majority of channels on the network, and therefore we have, 1 Satoshi fees for our payments. But I never see like an exact number of how big the network actually has to be in order for that to end up happening, especially because, I mean, I guess 1.2 million is a fairly large amount, and I don't know exactly not how well this is being implemented, but like, I know a lot of exchanges are just getting on board when it comes to like SegWit. I don't know what the hindrances are for the Lightning Network, if it is reliant on simply more people putting out more nodes. If that's the case, then we should have like what are those telethon things where like someone like stands up and, I would, if that's the case, and if you are a Lightning Network expert, please tell me, I would probably try and do like a 12-hour stream or something like that, not even joking, where I would just like promote people to open up their own Lightning Network payment methods. But I feel like it has more to do with the developer side as far as them building out the network or rolling out a tiny bit as time goes on, because realistically, in my head, the way that I kind of see everything is if we have a solution to Bitcoin's woes and problems and speed and all the other things, I feel like the entire world would have jumped on it by now. I don't know exactly what like I said, the hindrances are. I know that if you plan on opening up a Lightning Network node, you have to have a certain amount of Bitcoin in order for the payments, as they have payment channels, to be able to pass through them. So that could be something, but I feel like there are definitely more than enough people in the world who, I don't have this many, but I'm pretty sure there would be more than a large number of people who would be willing to put up 100 Bitcoin into a Lightning node to allow payments to go through, because that's a very, it's believed that when we finally have the Lightning Network fully active and, what's it called? Payments cost 1 Satoshi. This will be when we have the mythical, where is it? Somewhere around here. Like the micro payment thing. Like the idea is that we need cryptocurrencies to be able to handle microtransactions, and if we have that, it's expected that Bitcoin's price is going to skyrocket because you can then use Bitcoin for everything. So it seems like it would be in the best interest of everyone to open up a Bitcoin Lightning node, especially if they, like I said, if you have 1,000 Bitcoin, putting 100 into a node that you can still take out is not really an issue. But yeah, it's very good news that this is still expanding. There were a lot of hiccups in the very beginning, but to be fair, that happens with every single project. I was a bit unfair as well in the very beginning for Lightning Network. I mean, when you read around, there's still an issue of centralization. And this is something I was listening to a podcast with another Bitcoin maximalist, not the one from before, but he was stated and said that he thinks that this is something that we can get away from, but we can't officially get away from. People were asking him, what does he think about the majority of Bitcoin being held by such a small amount of people? And he says he didn't see it as a problem, especially if the price of Bitcoin continues to go up to where he thinks it's going to go, as long as other people, remember we were talking about before, have that 0.01 Bitcoin, that they will be financially secure in the future, and therefore there are enough for, 21 billion people on the planet or something like that to be able to have the Bitcoin. So there's always going to be that question of centralization, but I think logically, I think there will always, not everyone can always have an equal amount of something. There will always be a point where someone takes a bite of their cookie and they have less than the person standing next to them. Not to even get into the entire centralization, not really important at all. The point is that this is expanding. I hope that it continues to expand. I am probably going to do more of my own research because I would like to know how to either create a Lightning Network node. We also had that thing a couple days ago where someone or that company created that cryptocurrency miner that cost $799. That's not paid advertisement, by the way, with me saying that. It was just it'd be easier for you to find it on the internet, where they said that one of the options would be also to run a Lightning node. I feel like it is a bit easier than maybe I think that it is, because there is or then would be no reason for everyone in the world who's into cryptocurrencies or who's into Bitcoin to simply be able to open up their own channel, especially if you happen to have around this much Bitcoin. It could be incredibly interesting. All right, everyone. That is definitely going to do it for this video. Hope you all enjoyed. Hope you're all having a great day, morning, afternoon, and or evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I hope it's absolutely fantastic, and I hope you enjoy it. Go outside and enjoy the weather. Thank you once again for watching and or listening. And yeah, I'll talk to you all soon. See you.